talk Indianapolis Colts football.
We're going to stick to what we know, fundamentals and technique, 1% better every day.
All right. So I guess now you understand what the plan was.
Absolutely. At Colts Law, we talk Indianapolis Colts football.
We're going to stick to what we know, fundamentals and technique, 1% better every day.
All right. So I guess now you understand what the plan was.
Absolutely. At Colts Law, we talk Indianapolis Colts football.
Hey everybody, Lawrence Owen here, Colts Law, getting ready to go over the NFL 2020 offseason for the Indianapolis Colts. I have a very special guest with me. I have Tyler Zang of IndySportsOne. I want everyone to give him a great welcome. Hey man, welcome to the stream, man.
What's up? What's up, everybody? We're going to talk some free agent stuff today, some offseason news. I hope you guys are excited. Honestly, not much else to do with whole lockdown going on. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Lawrence, for the invite, and let's get started.
All right. I want to welcome Jay Wright About Sports to the stream. I appreciate you being here on Sportscaster. Before we get started, I just want everyone to remind everyone that if you're watching on Sportscaster, please don't forget to hit the like and give me a follow so you're notified next time I go live. And if you're watching this on YouTube, man, I would really appreciate giving me a like, subscribing to my channel, and hitting that notification bell so that you're notified next time I go live. So let's go ahead and get into this. As we can see, we have a few signings here that we've had so far this offseason. 3 of them, actually, in my opinion, are quite big. Even the Day signing actually has a little bit of merit to it. What do you think about Sheldon Day that we just signed the other day?
Well, I mean, not a lot of people are going to know him because it's not a splashy move, but I think it is a good move. If we have any 49ers fans tuning in, they know that Day was starting with Buckner in the playoff games. So, you know, he wasn't just primarily a backup there. He got a lot of good reps in there. I don't see him starting for us. I see Grover Stewart manning that one tech. But I think he's going to be a good backup. You go back and watch his film a little bit. He's pretty quick off the snap. And, yeah, he's just going to be a rotational player. I think he's going to be a really good fit for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's like Grover Stewart. He's not some 330-pound nose tackle, right? I mean, he's still under – he looks big, but he's under 300 pounds. But like you say, he's got a good, quick off the snap. He's got some decent moves. I think him sitting beside whoever is sitting at the 3 tech will provide a lot of extra penetration, especially on, say, third downs, right? Where you want more pass rush than you want run stopping ability. So I think I agree with you. I think this is a really good move just for depth and a little extra body, someone they could throw in there because, quite frankly, we ended up getting rid of our other starting nose tackle because he kind of underwhelmed last year. Another 3 tech that also underwhelmed last year. Well, the nose tackle, Marcus Hunt, that's what he was released. And then Danico Autry kind of underwhelmed a little bit as well. So with the underwhelming of Danico Autry, it brings us to the next guy who you already mentioned, DeForest Buckner. What a signing, blockbuster. And this guy can do it all pro. Just your thoughts on his effect on the defense.
I mean, I love this move. And I know a lot of people were upset, too, that we got rid of the 13th pick. But honestly, I was mocking guys like Derek Brown, Javon Kinlaw. And, you know, who knows how they're going to pan out in the NFL. We already know what Buckner is. He is a beast. We saw it in the Super Bowl, producing at a super high rate throughout the year. But really with this signing, I mean, it's just going to make the entire defensive line better. You got Justin Houston, who put up 10 sacks last year. You're going to get a healthy Kamoko Toure back. And then you're going to have Grover Stewart, who played really well at the end of the season last year. And when you have just the defensive line is just wreaking havoc on the quarterback, It makes it easier for your cornerbacks. It makes it easier for your safeties and your linebackers. They're only having to cover for 3 seconds opposed to 5, 6 seconds when we're not getting pressure at all. So I love the signing. I know people are upset that we got rid of the first round pick for it, but it's basically like taking one of the best defensive linemen with the 13th pick, and he's already proven. So I love it. I love it.
Oh, absolutely. And what a lot of people don't realize is Buckner has the ability, not just the ability, I mean, just about every down, he makes the guys around him, the nose tackle and defensive end, better because he draws that double team almost every time. You're going to see that center slide to his position way more often than you're going to see him slide over to the nose tackle. And that's huge because that means that you're giving the defense, both defensive ends and the nose tackle one-on-ones rather than a double team on one of your best guys, like say your Kamoko Toure or your Justin Houston. Houston and Toure are going to absolutely explode, I think, in this season. I just did a breakdown of Kamoko Toure on Twitter a couple days ago, showing some plays from last year, week 1 against the Chargers, and he was just absolutely manhandling his tackle whenever he was on the field. He was just so fast, so quick. The moves that he's getting, that he's learning from Robert Mathis to be able to get off blocks, to get hands from offensive linemen off of them are just outstanding. So I think this move not only brings in a great player, but it makes all the other players on that defensive line that much better. Let's move on. Just the other day, we just got a new guy, man. Pierre Desir got released. A lot of upset fans over that. And then immediately I think the Indianapolis Colts, it's funny because they released Desir right after Xavier Rhodes got released, right? So I'm thinking they seen that release from Xavier Rhodes and like, that's our guy. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, and I know he didn't have the best year last year, and there's no doubt about that. I know a lot of people are like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But, I mean, he's going to be reuniting with his old cornerback coach from the Vikings. And honestly, I know you broke down his film the other day, but if you go through it, it just seems he was injured. Like around week 4, I think is the time that it looked like, he just looked off. And I think if he's healthy, can get back to, I'm not saying he has to get back to fully being his 2017 All-Pro form, but I mean, if he's healthy, I think he can be a really good corner, and we really need a good corner. And if you look at the money-wise, a lot of people are like, why are you getting rid of Desir? It was only $7 million, whatever it was. You're getting Rhodes for even cheaper, and there's no risk here. Worst thing is he sucks and we cut him, and then we got two good backups right behind him.
Oh yeah. We got a lot of youth at the defensive back position, right? A third of our defensive backs were rookies last year. So, and then a good chance we probably pull another one off in this draft, So, having that experience brought in, a 29-year-old who was just an all-pro back in 2017, he made the Pro Bowl last year. It's kind of funny because, I mean, he gave up like a quarterback rating of like a 120 something, right? But if you look at it, at the beginning of the season, the first half of the season, he was playing at that Pro Bowl level. It's just when he started getting hurt, when he had his back injury, when he rolled his ankle, when he had the concussion, things of that nature, his play dropped. He's going to be healthy, and that's going to make a huge difference. As long as he can stay healthy, I think he's going to bring a lot of good things to this secondary and this pass defense. I want to say, KK, thanks for joining the stream, and I appreciate the follow. Shreyless, thanks for joining the stream as well. I got a couple things here he's mentioned. Drafting at the range of the draft. You wish your pick could have the production of Buckner. I love this trade. We agree with you. Desir was released because he wasn't a scheme fit because we played 85% of the... Now, here's the thing. Xavier Rhodes is a man guy. He really is. He's one of those guys. He as I was following his breakdown, in week 1 when he played the Atlanta Falcons, he followed Julio Jones everywhere on that field. Wherever Julio went, he went. And he held Julio while he was guarding him to 3 catches for 16 yards, and that's it. You know, they were completely afraid to throw to him in that direction. San Francisco Paul 86, I'm assuming that's San Francisco SF. Thanks for joining the stream. I appreciate you being here. So we're going to move on to the next guy, the last guy that we picked up, probably the most important person that we'll pick up all season for the offense, Phillip Rivers. A lot of controversy on this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna lie. You know, Colts fans, we've lost a lot of games to Phillip Rivers, and he doesn't have the prettiest throwing motion, and it's gonna be hard to watch. But he's a good quarterback, and he's an upgrade from Brissett, and I'm excited. I think we're gonna draft some playmakers, or possibly add one. We're gonna talk about that soon, but I think with the offensive line, when he's had good offensive lines, he's had his best season. He's reuniting with Frank Reich and Nick Sirianni. And if we add a couple more playmakers, maybe somebody who can go up and get the ball, I think this offense is perfect for Phillip Rivers, especially with, you know, players like Nyheim Hines. We got a running game. And, you know, he's not a mobile quarterback, but we don't need that because of the offensive line. So I think he's a perfect fit. You know, at first I didn't love it, but I'm pretty optimistic now, kind of going through everything that we've got, and I'm excited.
Oh, I am too. Because even though he's not mobile, he has a good feel for a pocket. He knows when he's under pressure. He knows when it's time to release the ball. He knows how to sidestep just to, you know, like how you saw Peyton Manning back in the day where he would just, that little bit of movement in the pocket to avoid the rush, to give him an extra half a second to give his wide receiver that little bit of extra time so that he could get open and release that football. He's got a good, quick release. Like you said, he worked with Frank Reich as his offensive coordinator for a year. He loves him. They got good chemistry together. He understands this whole quick release system that Frank Reich has. I think he's going to do a great job. My only issue really is longevity. We're talking a 17-week season now. You know, we're talking he's going to have to play. Last year, near the end of the season, you could see that a little bit of his on that pass was starting to come down, much like Breeze, much like Brady. You know, when you get to that age, the wear and tear of the season wears on you. So that, at least right now, we do have a competent backup sitting. Whether or not, I know a lot of people want us to trade Brissett. I don't know if it happens. From reports, it don't look like it's going to, because Reich and Ballard and Irsay, they all say that they love him. They want to keep him as a backup. So some more things said here. We'll get back to that in a second. So I was just going over the chat here. In your opinion, after these free agency moves that we've had, is there any real weakness that you see on this team, or do you just feel that really there's some places that we could tweak to get a little bit better in preparing for next season?
I wouldn't say there's a weakness, but I mean, wide receiver, you just need more playmakers. We saw the injuries last year; they're going to happen. Same thing with offensive line. All 5 starters started 16 games last year. You know, we hope that's the case again, but it's the NFL. It doesn't always work like that. And we lost Joe Haig to Tampa Bay. He was our backup kind of gadget guy. Josh Andrews, backup guard and center to the Jets. LaRaven Clark comes back. He's solid. I mean, he didn't play last year because we had, Costanzo and everybody play the 16 games. And so you're kind of left with him and Eldrin Camp are really the only guys. You got Javon Patterson, our late-round pick last year, coming back. So I think maybe just adding a tackle or guard could help. And then, I mean, really just trying to add competition and guys who could, boost his team. But really, wide receiver and offensive line are kind of the positions that I think we could definitely upgrade. And whether that's through the draft or free agency, I don't know.
According to the roster right now on the Colts, we only have 2 tight ends. So that might be someone else that we might grab up as well. Shrayless actually spoke about that. He says, really, the only need we have is wide receiver, tight end. He likes Higgins and Claypool in the draft. So I love Higgins. A lot of people don't like him because they think that he's a little slow. I think he's got enough speed to compensate with his abilities. We'll get into that in a minute. You talk about wide receivers. Is there anyone, wide receiver, offensive line, in free agency that's left that you think we should go for, or do you think we should look at that more in the draft?
I think wide receiver you address in the draft, but there are a few guys left out there. This wide receiver class wasn't, or this free agency class of wide receivers wasn't, I mean, amazing. You had Amari Cooper, but we all knew that he wasn't leaving Dallas. So some guys that I think might be a good fit are Rashard Higgins, the Cleveland Browns. He's 6'1". He can, he's not super tall, but he's a player that can go up and make plays if need be. He had a knee injury last year with the Browns, and then when he came back, him and Freddie Kitchens kind of had some tension, and he didn't play that much, and he didn't play all that well. And so, but right now with the Colts, I think if you just give him a 1-year deal, and then if things don't work out in training camp, it doesn't hurt. If things work out, great. He's on the team. So I like him. And then Demarcus Robinson with the Chiefs could be another guy that they bring in, whether that's, a 1-year deal or whatever. Both guys are 25, both 6'1". So very similar, but if they want to do something in free agency, this could be something, we see in the next couple of days.
Now, offensive lineman?
Offensive lineman, I don't know, because there's this guy in the XFL called Storm Norton. He was one of the first linemen picked, 6'7". I think you can round it up to 6'8", 317. He's more of a project tackle, but he's got some good traits. He's got a lot of power. I think that could be a solid backup signing. I don't know what teams are interested in him right now, but I mean, I think that would be a good pickup just for backup piece, and then that's 4 solid backups, and then you have 5 great starters. So I know Bauer likes to have 10 linemen, so then you could see maybe another lineman in the draft.
Yep. Is there any tight ends in this free agency that you think the Colts should even look at?
I mean, I've heard there's rumors on Delaney Walker. He's kind of had a dip in production. I mean, I'd say a major dip in production the past 2 years. But, I'm confident in Jack Doyle. Mo Alley Cox, I think he can become a great red zone target. But we just don't have anybody like that Ebron who's more of a athletic tight end, like, hurdling over people. Mo Alley Cox is a bit slower. Doyle's kind of like your 8-yard safe target. So I don't know if there's really a free agent tight end to address that need right now, but there are a few tight ends in the draft.
Yeah. I fully agree. If we're going to go tight end, go young. I mean, we had a tight end that we had released, and I think he could actually, we'd released earlier in the season, picked up after Eric Ebron left. For some reason, his name is not coming to mind.
Was it Hal or Hale Henchins or whatever? I forget his name.
He went to New England.
That guy?
The other guy, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. Hold on. Week 17. Sorry. Give me a moment, everybody. I'm looking to see what game it was that Colts. There we are. Because I like him. I like this tight end, and I just can't remember his name right off the top of my head. I'm sorry. Should have been a little bit more prepared for this situation right here. I'm lagging. Holy crap, I am lagging. Probably because of there we are. Oh my, stats. Oh, that's not the game I wanted to click on, dummy. That's not good. I wanted Colts.
I wish I could be more of a help, but I honestly don't remember. I mean, the end of the season was a train wreck anyway, so.
Oh, it was. It was. Dude, especially with all the injuries that the Colts had to deal with. And, I mean, people really needed to keep that in mind, that there was so many injuries that Indianapolis really had to deal with, and that hurt a lot. Where was he? Oh, he's not in there. No. What? He was a tight end. What was his name?
I'm trying to think. The only other guys I could think of were like Ross Travis, but I don't think he's on there. Was there Ross Travis?
Yes, Ross Travis played. I liked Ross Travis. Thanks. Yeah, I do like Ross Travis. He has some work. Obviously, he's not a blocking tight end, but I mean, you already have Jack Doyle. You already have Mo Alley Cox. You know, these are two really good blocking tight ends. Big guys, know how to do things in the run game. Oh, it's okay, Shreyless. I understand. Yeah, you have opinions. It's all good. But I think Ross Travis is a guy I think that we could probably keep. I mean, we had him 2 years now. We had him the year before as well. He played a little bit as well when there was some injuries going on. So I think he's somebody that we could look into, especially when you're filling out your roster for your 93. So, all right, going into the draft now. We talked about offensive linemen. We're talking about wide receivers. We're talking about tight ends. And quite frankly, I could see some depth at cornerback too, or safety, somewhere in that general vicinity. Somewhere in the defensive back. We're very young. We could still add more talent. At least that's my opinion. I mean, if a guy that Ballard really likes drops to, say, 44, like, let's say, Terrell in the draft drops to 44, would you pick him up?
I like Terrell. I mean, that LSU game was kind of questionable. Definitely questioned. Can he do it in the big leagues a little bit? I think they're just going to go best player available, honestly. If they feel that he's the best player there and they think he's a good fit, I think they take him. I actually like a quarterback by the name Bryce Hall from Virginia. He didn't play too much last year. He had I believe it was a knee or foot injury. He only played 6 games, but he's a pretty long and physical corner. He's 6'1". He led the NCAA in pass deflections in 2018, so 2 years ago. And he's a great tackler. He's great in zone. He's not amazing in man, but I mean, like we see some comments here that we're 85% zone scheme, so I think he'd be a great fit. Great leader, and he can play special teams too. So that has like Ballard written all over it. Obviously, the injury is a little concerning, but I think if you can get him in the 75 range, maybe trade up a little bit in round 3 to get him, I think he'd be a great addition. Like you said, we're still really young at corner, and Rhodes is only on a 1-year deal. So, I mean, if Rhodes is good, we might extend him, but who knows? They might be comfortable with the younger guys they got.
That is true. Who are some wide receivers that you like that might, fall to the Colts maybe at 34 or 44 in the draft?
Yeah, I like T. Higgins, like you said. He's just one of those guys that can go up and get the ball. His catch radius is, I mean, it's insane. He'll bring down any ball. And I know people are looking kind of at the wide receivers that Phillip Rivers played with. When he came into the league after Drew Brees left for New Orleans, him and Malcolm Floyd, I mean, it was just lobs up to him. So I think T. Higgins could be that guy. I see him falling in some drafts. I think people are just questioning, like you said, his after the catch ability, his route running, stuff like that. But he's a player that will come down with the ball. Denzel Mims, who's flying up the draft boards from Baylor. He's another one of those guys that can go up and get it. in my opinion, is a little bit more explosive than Higgins. Both have room to develop, but those would be my two guys. If they're at 34, you got to take one of them. I mean, they're both great players, and I know this wide receiver class is deep, but we really need somebody that can go up and get it, because Ty is not that guy, and that's not a discredit to Ty. It's just that's not his play style. Paris Campbell is more of your speed guy. You can put him on slants, streaks, stuff like that. And then outside of that, nobody else is really a lock. Maybe Pascal, he's kind of, average at everything. Fountain was making those contested catches, but who knows if he'll be, the player he was in camp. And then Funch is in Green Bay. So you need somebody that can go up and get the ball. And I think Higgins and Mims, if those guys are available, I think you got to take them. I think you really do. And I think wide receiver is that position of need that we need at 34. So
yeah, I can't agree with you more on this. Actually, my two wide receivers that I like at 34, if they drop, is Mims and Higgins. And I'll be frank, Mims was not on my radar for 34 until the combine, and he just blew the combine wide open. And normally I'm not big on the 40 speed, but I love the 3-cone. Your vertical, your long jump. Those are things that show explosiveness. And Mims was top 3 in everything, even the 40. I mean, I think the only person that really outran Mims was Ruggs, wasn't he? I mean,
yeah.
But now, granted, I think Ruggs blew him off by 0.8 seconds. So
yeah.
But
that's what Campbell's for, though, right?
Exactly. I mean, we don't need a small, quick receiver. We got
Yeah.
a few of those already on the team. Now, granted, Campbell's not small. He's 6 foot. He's an average sized
Yeah.
wide receiver, but he's that guy, just like Ty, that you could give on a short little quick drag route or something of that nature and just watch him, yards after catch.
Yeah.
Like you say, we need someone who could go out and do 50-50 balls. Go for stuff like that. And Higgins, obviously, his tape just shows it. It's just stupid. Like I say, he's got a little question mark on his speed, on his breakaway speed, being able to separate. Now, we got decent wide receiver coaches. We got Ty on the team that learned from Reggie Wayne, who learned from Marvin Harrison. Those, so you got the route running thing being taught from wide receiver to wide receiver. So he might be able to help the younger guys like Campbell, like Pascal, like, say if Higgins gets on the team, learn the route running abilities in order to get separation doing it that route. But yeah, I love Higgins. I love Mims. I can't agree with you anymore in that situation. If they drop down to 34, if they're available, grab them.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to add too is, it's interesting because when we had Luck, we drafted Campbell specifically for Luck. Rivers is only on a 1-year deal. Jacoby's only got 1 more year left. And so I think if you're Ballard, when you're drafting receivers, I wouldn't specifically draft it for Rivers or Brissett. And I think Higgins and Mims they're going to work with any quarterback just because of that, that radius that they can catch it at, and they can just go up and get it. So I think when you're considering wide receivers, those make sense just because they'll work with Rivers. And then if Rivers, ends up retiring after the year or comes back for a second year, that's still going to work. But if he doesn't come back, it's going to work with whoever else is at quarterback. As if you have a small, speedy guy like Hamler or Rieger or something like that, it might not be applicable to a different quarterback.
True enough. I'm going to agree with Shrayless on Laviska Shenault. I like Shenault personally as a player. I think he will succeed he could succeed with the Colts, but we already have guys on the team that do what Shenault does. AKA, I see him and Hines as damn near the same player, except one's a little quicker, Hines is a little faster than Shenault, but Chenault's got a little bit more power. But they pretty much do the exact same thing on a team. But I think, seeing him go to Shenault going to the Ravens or San Francisco or the Saints, those kind of offensive schemes, very similar to the Colts in a way, where they like to, dump off passes short, get yards after catch. He could succeed on those teams. I just don't want to see him on the Colts because we've already got guys that do the same thing. We don't need 50,000 people at wide receiver that does the exact same thing. We need a little bit, like you say, a little bit of different abilities that we can lean on. That way we're not leaning on one thing, because, if we're just all speed, yes, Kansas City did that, won the Super Bowl doing it that way. But defenses focus in on things like that. And sooner or later, if it's just all speed, defensive coordinators and head coaches will figure out how to stop that. You need someone that can do other things as well on that offense. Is there anyone on tight end you're looking at in the draft?
Tight ends, I wouldn't say this is the best tight end class, but I do think there are some good players. I like Cole Kmet. He's not a great blocker, but out of his stance, he's super good. He's pretty athletic. He played football and baseball at Notre Dame. Like you said earlier, we're not in need of somebody that can go out there and block for the run. We got Doyle. Mo Alley-Cox has certainly developed as a run blocker. We saw it last year. He was mauling guys. You need somebody kind of to be that Eric Ebron guy, somebody who's a little bit more athletic. And I'm not saying they have to be like, a 4.4 speed, but just somebody who's a little bit more, they can put the jukes on. They can get a couple more yards than, Jack Doyle. And because when Jack Doyle gets the ball, it's not like he's running 20 yards. So we need somebody that can just spice things up a little bit for the tight end group.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about him. I've heard Claypool, his name come up. But like you said, there's not a lot of names out there. Shreyless agreed with you on the whole Kmet thing as well. At this point, I would let the Colts kind of just feel the draft as it falls. At the point that we're going to be getting a tight end, whether it be 44 or 75 or wherever it is, even, down 4th, 5th round, 6th round, the Colts are very good at grabbing undrafted free agents at tight end and making them work. Like Hale Hinchkes, he plays for the Pats. Doyle. Come on, Doyle is an undrafted free agent. I think Mo Alley-Cox is too, isn't he?
They stole him from basketball, brought him in.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that is a position that, Pollard was as well, but that was a different regime.
Eric Swoop too. He was undrafted basketball player. So you're right. They don't really have a track record of drafting tight ends. So
no. Most of their tight ends come undrafted free agents, and they're able to grab them and make them work for the team. Who's an offensive lineman that you like?
I kind of have two that I have in mind. I don't see us taking one early on. I can see maybe 3rd, 4th round. I like Ben Bredesen from Michigan, though. He's a guard. He was really good in the run game for Michigan. He started all 4 years. He was a captain for majority of the year, so he's got a lot of experience, a lot of leadership. There are some concerns about just some of his technique, and his arms aren't the longest for a lineman, so there's a big concern about his pass blocking. But in the run game, he's phenomenal. And I think, I'm not trying to bash Glowinski or anything, but he did not have a great season last year. And I know that was kind of covered up by how well everybody else did in the offensive line. But even if Bredesen comes in and doesn't start, I think he's just such a great piece to have as a backup and could potentially be the replacement for Glowinski. I also like Urza Cleveland from Boise State. The Colts were said to have had a FaceTime, whole coronavirus. You can't meet with players, so you got to FaceTime them now. But he's another interesting one. To me, he's more of a project tackle, and I know people hate to hear that. But Costanzo's only got probably 2 years. He'll probably play out his contract and then retire. So if you can make that work and then he becomes somebody that develops under Costanzo and then becomes our starting left tackle, that'd be great. If not, I think he'd be a really good backup. And like I said, injuries are part of the game. We were fortunate not to have any injuries on the offensive line last year. It's not always the case every year. So I think if you want a guard or somebody that can play center and guard, you go Bredesen. If you want somebody that is flexible at the tackle position, you go Urza Cleveland.
Offensive tackles, in the mock drafts that I've ran, the live mock drafts with 32 sports writers that I have been part of, which I'll be part of again tomorrow with Unwrapped Sports Network. I've seen a lot of tackles drafted, even in round 1. Tackles. Like, I think I saw 5 tackles drafted in the first 32 picks. And in my opinion, there's only one superstar at tackle, and then after that, they're good, and some of them could be starters, but I don't see them as round 1. But there's such a big need out there right now that I have this ugly feeling that this current year, if you grab a tackle at any time other than late rounds, like 6th, 7th, that it's going to end up being a reach, because there could be such a massive run on that position in this draft early on. I personally, like you was talking about Mark Glowinski, I love Mark Glowinski. He was actually the last year's training camp. He's the first guy that came up to me and gave me a signature, So he's an awesome guy. I love the guy. But I think like you said, we need to grab somebody just in case. Someone that could really play all 3 of the inside line positions. And they don't have to start right away. Someone that could sit back and learn a little bit. And, man, I'll tell you what, say 3rd round, Natane Moody, or Mutai, I think. I don't know how to pronounce the last name. It might be Mutai. From Fresno State is an absolute mauler. I mean, he is a mauler. If you go watch his tapes, his biggest problem and what's made him drop in the draft is because he had an Achilles rupture, right? And so that took him out for a long period of time, and there's a little bit of worry. Obviously Achilles is a big injury, but if you have the ability to draft him in the 3rd round, he's got such a huge high ceiling when it comes to inside line. If it wasn't for the Achilles rupture, I firmly believe he's a solid 1st round pick. But because of the rupture, he needs a little bit more work with to learn his specific scheme on how to use his hands and things like that. But he's great. Also footwork, because that has a lot to do with Achilles. But yeah, he's someone that I've looked into, and I think that he could just maul, especially in the run game. And we all know that this right now, the way Frank Reich is running the offense, that it all kind of leans on how the run game goes. So that would help out Ryan Kelly and Braden Smith. And so I think making the right side of the line even stronger would just make an even stronger case, because that way you don't have your power side, your weak side anymore. You have, well, shit, man, they can run any direction on us. Most of the time you see them run to the right because that big 56 is pulling that direction. So I would love to see him grab another inside offensive lineman, and Natane is somebody I think would be a great grab. Is there anything else that you want to get into here?
I was just going to add to your point about the right side of the line. I mean, I can just see it right now. You just have another Muller at right guard. He's going to just be laying people out, and you're going to have Quentin Nelson wrapping around on the swing, going right behind him. I mean, Marlon Mack is going to have holes for days.
Exactly.
And so I think you have to address offensive line at some point. I do think there's a lot of depth in this class because, like you said, 5 tackles first round. I mean, there's a lot of good, not even just tackles, a lot of good offensive linemen in this draft. And a lot of them, I wouldn't say are starter ready, but a lot of them have super high potential. And if we can find maybe the diamond in the rough there, I mean, this offensive line is just going to get better and better.
I think so as well. One quick more point. Cornerback. If the Colts were to grab a cornerback just to throw in for depth and to fight, that whole iron sharpens iron thing. I hate to put out a quote that a former coach used to put out, but it is true. Is there anyone in this draft that you're looking at the Colts might be kind of looking at maybe to fill in that position, or safety?
Yeah, I don't know about the draft for safety. I feel like if they want to address safety, I'm pretty sure Gathers is gone. I don't think Ballard's going to bring him back. I know he loves him, but he doesn't quite fit this team. We're kind of that athletic, fast defense now, and he doesn't really fit that. I think Eric Berry could be a good signing via free agency. As for the draft, though, like I said, I think Bryce Hall could be good. He fits the zone scheme. Kind of going away from zone scheme, though, you have Jeff Gladney from TCU, Damon Arnett from Ohio State. Those guys are just kind of dogs, physical players. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This cornerback draft is, I mean, it's almost like you look at every position and it's just super deep everywhere. There's a lot of good players in this draft. I don't know how much Ballard wants a project corner. That may sound bad, but like 5th round corners, that's what Marvell Tell was, but I don't know how much he's willing to do that with the lack of veterans on the team already. It just seems like if you're adding players that aren't ready to jump into competition, it's kind of pointless because behind Rhodes, you just have Rock Ya-Sin, Marvell Tell, Quincy Wilson, all young guys. And I'd say if you're taking a corner, you got to take it round 2. So maybe 44. And I don't know if Gladney would be available there. So probably the guys I'd probably say are just Hall and Arnett. I think those would be 2 good fits.
Now, Shiralis mentions C.J. Henderson in round 2, and every draft that I have ever ran so far, the live mocks, not the AIs, he's always been picked late 1st round. I have not seen him drop the 2nd round. He's literally my favorite corner, even more so than Ogbah. But I just because of what he can do, he's got that ability to be explosive and make those splash plays when he needs to. I'm looking at guys, in my opinion, like Jalen Johnson, like Terrell, someone that could fall maybe into the 3rd round. And if they do, they would be prime targets in the 3rd round, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like Terrell. I mean, like I said it earlier, the LSU game was kind of concerned, but I mean, that offense was that was like an NFL offense. So, he's got a little bit to work on, but I definitely agree. If people are going to fall in this draft, different positions, if I like Jalen Johnson too. Yeah, well, I forget what I was about to say, but yeah, I mean, Clemson corners. Clemson's a great school. He'd be a great fit. Jalen Johnson's a dog. I mean, that guy knows. That guy. Well, if you watch his film, it's a fun film review. Yeah, I forget who else I was thinking about, but it might come back. But yeah, I like those 2 players a lot.
All right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wreck your train of thought there, man.
No, yeah. Oh, I remember now. What I was gonna say is on C.J. Henderson. For me, I am not comfortable taking Florida corners because Quincy Wilson, I thought he was going to be that guy. Didn't happen. You look at the Lions, they drafted Teez Tabor. in the I think the second round as well. I think he's on the Chiefs or 49ers now as like a practice squad player. And then Vernon Hargreaves didn't work out in Tampa Bay. He went in like the top 10, I believe. He's with Houston now as like their fourth corner. So the past Florida cornerbacks have kind of wrecked the stock for Henderson for me. I think he's a great player. I thought Quincy Wilson was a great player. I thought Hargreaves was a great player, and they just haven't panned out. So there's a little bias on that end from me, just not seeing those guys pan out. But I mean, there's a lot of good corners. It'll be interesting to see if they address it or not.
See, what's funny about Quincy Wilson is while I watched him during training camp, sitting there on the sideline watching him play and doing practice, he's got the skills. He's got everything. It's up here. There's something when the play is happening on the field, he's not reacting quick enough. And he needs to learn to react rather than think. He needs to get to that comfort level, and he hasn't gotten there yet. And because of that, he's been burnt, like you say, a few times. So I think it might just have to do with a lot of reps, but who knows? Rock Ya-Sin, I think, is going to end up being a monster in this league. When we played Pittsburgh and he had all those PI calls, he never changed his style of play the rest of the season. He only had 2 PI calls the rest of the season. And yet he played the exact same way. So all those PI calls was just the referees being really, really harsh on touching the wide receiver on that game. He was actually listed after the Pittsburgh game, from that point on, for the rest of the season, during that time period, he was rated as the number 1 rated cornerback, rookie-wise, in the NFL by PFF.
Yeah, his play style, because he's that physical guy. He was playing press and man at Temple. His play style honestly reminds me a little bit of Xavier Rhodes if you go back and watch 2017 Xavier Rhodes All-Pro season, when he's guarding guys like Mike Evans and Julio. I mean, Rock Ya-Sin is kind of like that. He's swatting their hands down. He's physical on them, and I'm not saying Xavier Rhodes is going to be playing press and man with the Colts, but I think Rock's going to be able to learn a lot from him because I think he resembles his game in certain ways.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I think Rock might be a little bit more physical than Xavier. Xavier's got a lot of athleticism with him as well that Rock really likes to be like seriously hardcore in your face and likes to have his hands on you to feel the receiver. Shreyla said one of the PI calls he actually tackled the guy. Well, yeah, sometimes actually it's better to go ahead and tackle the guy and get the PI than let the guy catch the ball because it ends up being like a massive, touchdown or something. You'd rather do it that way. But not everybody can cover every person perfectly on every play either. So
yeah, and another thing too is you have to keep in mind that Desir was injured, Moore was injured. So I mean, Rock being a rookie, he was just thrown into the fire. I mean, he was guarding Julio in week 3. Like that's not a typical assignment for a rookie corner. And I mean, I know the flags are annoying, but that's only going to make him better. I think he's going to take a huge jump this year, especially I think it's all going to tie back to the Buckner trade. I think that defense line is going to be so good, and it's just going to make the corners so much better. And Rock being that physical corner, he's only going to have to play defense for 3 to 4 seconds on majority of plays, maybe even less.
Yep.
And I think he's just going to take a huge leap. I really do. I think he's going to be that player that we're like, wow, he's really good.
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of turnovers this year because they had to cover for so long last season because they couldn't get the pressure. And now I think that because of the athleticism that they have on that defensive line, those stunts that Matt Eberflus loves to use are going to work so much better. And you're going to get pressure on cornerbacks now without even needing to send an extra guy like Moore or Leonard or Kari Willis, on a blitz. You're going to get pressure a lot more often. Like you say, the corners won't have to play that defensive system longer than 3 or 4 seconds. And when you're in a zone, you're looking at the quarterback rather than the wide receiver. So if the quarterback gets under pressure, he's throwing the ball, and that creates turnovers. So I'm expecting a huge step. And the Colts weren't a bad defense last year. They were, ranked 11th overall, I think, last season in total yards?
I mean, they were on the field every 2 minutes because the offense couldn't do anything too. So
yeah. So I mean, that says a lot. But yeah, I'm expecting big things for the defense this coming season. I'm thinking that they went heavy defense in free agency. I think they'll probably go a little bit more offensive in the draft, and hopefully, when this training camp comes up and, like you say, this whole COVID-19 thing hopefully kind of eases its way out of the picture, and we can actually show up to training camp and see what's going on, that we might start to see a little bit of an explosion going.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Last year we kind of went defense heavy in the draft. We only took Campbell. That was really the only offensive guy. You know, we had the tackles and guards later, but, you know, Barton's cut and Patterson hurt.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be flipped this year. I think you're going to see a lot more offensive guys, maybe a cornerback, safety, somewhere trickled in the mix there. But yeah, I think it'd be safe to expect a lot of offense in the draft, which is exciting too, because that's where a lot of your playmakers are.
Yep. All right, well, I want to thank you once again for joining this stream, man. I had a blast talking about the Colts and this offseason with you. I think we covered darn near everything, dude.
Yeah.
But thanks so much. If you don't follow Tyler or IndySportsOne, Tyler's going to give you a little bit of rundown on how to follow him and where to follow him in IndySportsOne on the social medias. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so 2 people run IndySportsOne. I am one of them. You can find us on Twitter at IndySportsOne. You can find us at Instagram at IndySportsOne as well. We're also going to start the podcast up soon. So yeah, make sure to check out our YouTube channel. I just want to thank you, Lawrence, for hosting this little stream today. I like the setup you got going on here, and hopefully we can do more of these in the future.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate the compliment. And yes, Dan, I see you, and I appreciate all the extra chat that you had inside there, man. I really do. I appreciate you being here and joining the whole stream at that. So thanks a lot. So, all right. That's it for this stream. I appreciate everyone that's been here. Make sure you follow me on YouTube. Make sure you follow me on Sportscaster, Facebook. You can check me out on Instagram and on Twitter at Colts_Law. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. This is Colts Law, and I want you to have a good one.